My husband married another woman on a Saturday. I found out on a Sunday. He didn't tell me. He didn't call. He didn't send a letter or leave a note or have the basic human decency to look me in the eye and say what he had done. I found out because his cousin Tanya sent me a screenshot of the wedding photos on Instagram. There he was, Daniel, my husband of 6 years, in a white venue with fairy lights and a chocolate fountain and a woman in a strapless gown who was not me, smiling like a man who had never once made a vow he intended to keep. The caption said, "The beginning of forever." I sat with my phone in my hand for so long that the screen went dark. Then I got up, I washed my face, I made coffee, and I started thinking very carefully about everything I owned. Let me tell you about the house. The house on Mercer Lane was mine before Daniel ever walked through the door. I bought it at 28 with money I had saved for 4 years while living with 2 roommates in an apartment where the heat worked maybe 6 months out of 12. I scraped and budgeted and said no to vacations and new clothes and every single thing that wasn't the down payment fund. The day I got the keys, I sat in the empty living room on the floor and ate a sandwich alone and cried. It was mine. Every wall, every creak in the floorboards, every square foot at the backyard where I'd planted tomatoes that first summer, mine. When Daniel and I got married 3 years later, he moved in. He did not buy in. We talked about refinancing, putting his name on the deed, doing it properly. We talked about it the way couples talk about things they plan to get around to eventually. We never got around to it because Daniel was always busy, always in the middle of something, always had a reason why next month was better than this month. I understand now that the reason was a woman named Priya, who he had met at a work conference in Phoenix 18 months into our marriage, and who he had apparently decided, somewhere along the way, was his actual future. He just forgot to end his present before he started it. The divorce papers arrived on a Tuesday. I read every word. Then I called my lawyer, Sandra, who had been my lawyer since I bought the house, and who had a voice like a woman who had seen every version of this situation and was no longer surprised by any of them. "He's listed the house as a marital asset," Sandra said. "Can he do that?" "He can try," she said. "His name isn't on the deed, but 6 years of marriage, shared residence, he can make an argument for contribution to the property. He paid rent," I said. "We split the bills. He contributed nothing to the mortgage beyond what a tenant would have." "I know," Sandra said. "We'll document everything. Pull every bank statement, every payment record, every receipt. We're going to build a wall so clean he can't find a crack." That was exactly what I did. For the next 3 weeks, while Daniel was apparently honeymooning in Lisbon with Priya, yes, Lisbon, I also found out about Lisbon through Instagram, I built that wall. Every mortgage payment I had ever made alone from my account, 11 of the 12 statements showing I covered the full amount in months. Daniel claimed he was between things. The home improvement receipts, the insurance payments, the property tax records, every single one in my name. Sandra called it the most organized divorce file she had ever received. I called it Sunday afternoons for 3 weeks and a lot of highlighters. I had not heard from Daniel directly since the day he moved out 7 months earlier. He had left while I was at work, took his clothes, his laptop, his golf clubs, and the espresso machine we had bought together, which I was genuinely more upset about than I expected. He left a note on the kitchen counter. It said, "I think we both know this hasn't been working. I'll be in touch about the logistics." That was it. 6 years. 1 paragraph. 7 words about logistics. His mother, Roberta, called me that same evening. I did not answer. She left a voicemail that was 15 minutes long. I know because I let it run. I did not listen to it, but I noted the timestamp. It started at 7:43 p.m. and ended at 7:58 p.m. and that told me everything I needed to know about Roberta, which was that she was a woman who believed her words were worth 15 uninterrupted minutes of another person's life. His sister, Janelle, texted me 3 times that week. I read the texts. I did not respond. Janelle was the kind of person who collected information the way other people collected stamps carefully, with a system for purposes she'd reveal later. I did not intend to contribute to her collection. I blocked all 3 of them, quietly, completely. And then I waited, because I had learned something about people like Daniel and Roberta and Janelle. They always came back. They always needed something, and the moment they came back would be the moment that mattered. He showed up on a Thursday evening in March. I heard the car first, that specific rumble of his old Audi that I had heard pulling into this driveway for 6 years. My stomach did something complicated for about 4 seconds, then it stopped. I watched from the upstairs window as he got out. He was with Roberta and Janelle and Priya. He brought his new wife to my house, the house he had never owned, the house I had bought alone and paid for alone and which had been mine before he had a name in my phone. He brought her here like this was a field trip. I watched the four of them walk to the front door. I watched Daniel reach into his jacket pocket and take out a key. My key. The one I had given him when we got married. The one I had never asked back because I had assumed, incorrectly, stupidly, that a man who took a key when he moved out was a man who understood he was taking it for the last time. He put the key in the lock. It didn't turn. He tried again, jiggled it, frowned. I had changed the locks 6 months ago. First week of January. New year. New deadbolts. Sandra had suggested it, and I had done it the same afternoon she mentioned it. He rang the doorbell. I took a breath. I smoothed my shirt. I walked downstairs. I opened the door. The four of them stood on my porch in the early evening light, and I looked at them the way you look at a thing you have already made peace with. Daniel looked good. Tan from Lisbon, I assumed. He had a new jacket. He was smiling the smile he used when he wanted to seem relaxed and was not. Roberta was in a cream blouse with a string of pearls that she wore like armor. She was already drawing breath to speak, which was always a signal to brace yourself. Janelle had her phone in her hand, angled slightly upward, recording. She wasn't even subtle about it. And Priya was small and pretty, and she was looking at my house, the porch, the door, the tomato planters I'd just put out for spring, with an expression I recognized because I had seen it on my own face once, a long time ago. She was taking inventory. She was trying to figure out what parts of this place she was going to change. Diane, Daniel said. His voice was warm. Practiced. Hey, Daniel, I said. We need to talk, he said. About the house. Okay, I said. I didn't move from the doorway. Can we come in? No, I said. Roberta's mouth tightened. Diane, this is a family conversation, and I think it would be more appropriate. It's not your house, Roberta, I said. It's mine. So, I'll decide what's appropriate. That landed. I watched it land. Look, Daniel said, doing the thing where he spread his hands like he was being very reasonable. I know this is a difficult time. It really isn't, I said. He blinked. The thing is, Diane, Priya and I have been talking about our living situation and the house. I mean, we were married 6 years. I have rights here. Sandra may have told you something different, but Sandra told me the truth, I said, which is that your name is not on the deed, was never on the deed, and your contribution to this property over 6 years amounted to half the utility bills and a second-hand espresso machine. Roberta made a sound, not a word, just a sound, like a kettle starting to boil. That's not fair, Daniel said. I lived here. I contributed. I have the bank records, I said simply. Every mortgage payment, every insurance premium, every property tax, every renovation receipt. You want to litigate this? We can litigate this. Sandra is very much looking forward to that. Janelle's phone was still up. Good, let her record. Daniel. Priya's voice was quiet. She had been still through all of this, and now she spoke, and everyone, including Daniel, went slightly quiet. I have a question. Daniel turned to her. Babe, just one question, she said. She was still looking at me, not him. Her expression was hard to read. Not hostile, not warm, just careful. Like a woman who had been told a story and was now, for the first time, seeing the landscape the story was supposed to be set in and noticing the geography didn't quite match. She looked at Daniel. When you said your house, she said slowly, which house did you mean? Because you told me you owned this place jointly. The porch went silent. Daniel opened his mouth. Nothing came out. You told me, Priya said, her voice still quiet, still controlled, but with something new underneath it now, something like the sound of a very old structure beginning to shift, that when the divorce was settled, you would have 50%. You told me that was confirmed. You told me we were going to move in here by summer. Priya, is your name on the deed? She asked. Direct. No decoration. He said nothing. Daniel. Her voice had changed completely. Is your name on the deed? It's complicated, he said. There are legal arguments. That's a no, I said helpfully. Priya looked at me. For a second, just a second, something moved across her face that I could not fully interpret. It wasn't directed at me. It was directed inward, at a story she had been living inside that was now revealing its wrong walls. He told me, she said to me, and she wasn't asking for sympathy. She was just stating a fact, that you two had agreed to split the assets, that you were being difficult about the timeline, that the house was as much his as yours. He told you a lot of things, I said. She nodded once, slowly. Roberta had been silent for 45 seconds, which was some kind of record. She now recovered. This is none of your business what was discussed privately, she started. started. Mom, Janelle said. Roberta stopped. Everyone looked at Janelle, who had finally lowered her phone. She was looking at it, at whatever she had just recorded, with an expression that suggested she had not fully anticipated what she would capture when she started. Mom, Janelle said again. Quieter. Stop. Roberta stopped. Daniel was looking at Priya. Priya was not looking at Daniel. She was looking at my tomato planters, the ones I put out every March, the ones that had been on this porch for 7 years, and she was doing the math that women do when they realize the version of events they've been handed has too many holes in it. I'd like to go, Priya said. Priya, I'd like to go now, Daniel. He looked at her. He looked at me. He looked at the door he had tried to unlock with a key that no longer worked. And then he did the thing he always did when a situation required something from him that he didn't know how to give. He straightened his jacket. He put the useless key back in his pocket. He looked at me with an expression that was half resentment and half something else, something that might have been, if I was reading it generously, a flicker of the shame he should have felt 7 months ago when he left a 7-word note on my kitchen counter and drove away. We'll be in touch through the lawyers, he said. Sandra looks forward to it, I said. They walked back to the car, all 4 of them, Roberta with her pearls and her opinions, Janelle with her phone and her footage, Daniel with his new jacket and his old habits, and Priya, who walked slightly apart from the others, who did not take Daniel's hand when he reached for it, who got into the passenger seat and turned to look straight ahead through the windshield at nothing. I stood in my doorway. I watched the Audi back out of my driveway. I watched it go down Mercer Lane and turn the corner and disappear. Then I stepped back inside my house, with my floors and my walls and my tomato planters, and the deadbolt I had installed in January with the key that was only mine. I closed the door. I locked it. I went to the kitchen and put the kettle on because I had bought a new espresso machine, a better one, the week after Daniel took the old one, and beside it I kept a box of the good tea that I had never been able to keep in the house because Daniel didn't like the smell. I stood in my kitchen while the kettle heated, and I looked at the space I had built and protected and refused to give away. My phone buzzed on the counter. A number I didn't recognize. Not Daniel's, not Roberta's. I picked it up. One text, no name. This is Priya. I owe you nothing and you owe me nothing. But I think we should talk. There are things he told me about you that I'm starting to understand were not true. And there are things he told me about us that I'm starting to understand may also not be true. I read it twice. The kettle clicked off. I poured my tea. I sat down at my kitchen table in my house, in the home I had bought alone and kept alone and was going to keep being mine for as long as I chose. I looked at Priya's message for a long time, and then I started to type back